Hello and welcome to a whole episode of The Week Gone By. I'm Shan and I will bring you all the news and updates from the last week that made the headlines. By the WikiLeaks of Congress vying the MPs to win the vote of confidence over the crucial Indo-US nuclear deal in 2008, the opposition was clearly in no mood to tone down its blistering attack against the government throughout the last week.
There was a chaos in the parliament during the last week as BJP leader Sushma Swaraj moved the privilege motion against Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh for allegedly misleading the House by claiming that MPs were not bribed during the July 2008 trust vote. The BJP also insisted that Dr. Singh's stand is different from the findings of the Lok Sabha committee that was set up to examine the allegations in the cash for vote scams. But however, later in the week, the government hit back at the belligerent opposition, saying that the BJP stage managed the cash for vote sitting to frame the UPA. Leading the attack was Parliamentary Affairs Minister Pawan Kumar Bansal, who charged the BJP with contacting a TV channel and setting up a sting. Also on the other hand, the Prime Minister, in response to charges levelled by the opposition, said that the authenticity of the WikiLeaks cable could not be verified and that the House was wasting precious time on this instead of discussing other pressing issues. He also slammed the opposition's attitude as undemocratic and said that a further probe into the cash for vote scam was underway.
To do so and say, "Mana ke teri jeet ke kabil nahi hu main." माना कि तेरी जीत के काबिल नहीं हूँ मैं, तू मेरा शौक तो देख, मेरा इंतजार देख।
Pakistan President Asif Ali Zardari last week invited all the political parties to a national dialogue to achieve a 5-point economic consensus to match one they had on constitutional reforms last year.
Zardari advised the protesters from all the three parties to make every effort to keep their egos aside. But however, the three parties reportedly walked out of the joint sitting of the National Assembly and the Senate in two groups after the President began his address while opening the fourth parliamentary year of the PPP-led government. Meanwhile, during his address, Zardari further cited energy shortage, circular debt, taxation reforms and economy as the major issues during the sitting. On the other hand, President Asif Ali Zardari also called for overcoming difficulties which are souring Pakistan and the United States bilateral ties. President Zardari was quoted saying that it was time for the two countries to take stock of the existing situation and focus on addressing all issues which contribute towards creating misunderstandings and mistrust between the people of the two countries. He made the statement when a delegation led by Armed Services Committee member Congressman Rob Whitman had called on him at the presidency. Meanwhile, US envoy to Pakistan Mark Grossman said that the United States and Pakistan are working together to resume their strategic dialogue and other high-level contacts delayed by recent strains in their relations. The new US Special Representative for Afghanistan and Pakistan also indicated that the two countries were working on rescheduling President Asif Ali Zardari's visit to Washington.
It was during the last week that US Assistant Secretary of State Robert O. Blake visited Bangladesh and met with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, and the one issue that came up between them was the issue of Yunus's release.
It was during a meeting with the country's Prime Minister that Blake expressed hope that a compromise can be found from the government's end on the Yunus issue that will again ensure independence and integrity of Grameen Bank. Now later in the week, the US Assistant Secretary of State to South Asia moreover said that the Yunus issue must be settled in a respectable manner. Now, responding to Robert Blake's statement, Foreign Secretary Mohammad Mijaruquez said that the government has nothing to do with the Yunus issue and it will be settled in the court. He made the statement during a meeting with the US Assistant Secretary of State Roberto Blake and US Ambassador to Bangladesh James F. Moriarty. American Chamber of Commerce in Bangladesh president has meanwhile said that the trade between Bangladesh and the US may be hampered if the unwarranted tension that surfaced recently between the two countries is not diffused immediately.
US-Bangladesh relations have been as strong, as cordial, as deep as today. We should not allow that relationship to be consumed by any single issue.
But however, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina reiterated her stance that Bangladesh and the United States are maintaining excellent bilateral relations, which will be better in the coming days.
It's time now to check out the updates from Nepal, where last week coalition partners UCP and Maoist and CPN UML and Madheshi Jana Adhikar Forum or MJF forged a consensus in joining the new government. Now, during the meeting held at Prime Minister's official residence in Baluwatar, the parties also forged consensus on resolving Tarai Madhesh issues, statute drafting, peace process and power sharing. The agreement paper was signed by Maoist Chairman Pushpa Kamal Dahal, Prime Minister and UML Chairman Chalanath Khanal and MJF Chairman Upendra Yadav. Moreover, the Chief of Chinese Army General Shen Bingde arrived in Nepal during the last week. General Shen led a 15-member military delegation to the Himalayan nation. Shen Bingde said that China would like to provide more assistance for the Nepalese army. The Chinese Army Chief General said this while meeting with the Nepal Defence Minister Bishnu Paudel on Thursday morning. In response, Paudel thanked Bingde for the financial assistance and added that Nepal is committed to One China policy. The Sri Lankan Navy said that they are taking every possible measure to improve relations with Sri Lankan and the Indian fishermen. The Navy's Northern Commander said that the issue of fishermen straying into the domestic waters of the other country must be dealt maturely. For the records, Indian Foreign Secretary Nirupama Rao visited Colombo recently to talk over this contentious issue. Also, Sri Lankan Ambassador in New Delhi, Prasad Karyawasam, was summoned to the Indian Ministry of External Affairs for the same reason. On the other hand, CEO of the Commonwealth Games Federation Mike Hooper called on Sri Lankan President Mahinda Rajapaksa at Temple Trees on Wednesday last week. Hooper was in Sri Lanka to meet with Lanka's Commonwealth Games Committee for discussions on the island nation's bid to host the 2018 Commonwealth Games. Now, Sri Lanka is competing with Gold Coast, Australia to host the Commonwealth Games. Notably, Lanka also unveiled a large-scale model of the Hambantota 2018 Sports City in the presence of Hooper. The confirmed toll in Japan's earthquake and tsunami has surpassed 10,000 as a magnitude 6.2 aftershock jolted the battered northeast. Northeastern Japan was also jolted by a record number of aftershocks since the initial magnitude of 9 earthquake. But the fear still lurks in the corner of everyone's eyes as the nation is now trying to tackle the radiation from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant.
The UN Nuclear Agency's Incident and Emergency Center, or the IEC, continued to monitor the status of the nuclear power plants in Japan throughout the week after some were damaged by a March 11th earthquake and tsunami. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, or the IAEA, moreover said on Monday that the situation at the Fukushima nuclear power plant continued to be very serious despite some signs of improvement.
Remains very serious. Efforts to restore electrical power on the site continue. Off-site electrical power has been connected to the local substation for Units 2 today.
Moreover, 2 workers from the nuclear power plant were also taken to a radiological science institute near Tokyo for treatment after stepping into radiation-contaminated water. The plant's operators said that contaminated water seeped the boots of the 2 workers as they attempted to repair massive damage.
As the workers are trying to tackle the threats of radiation, it is the food and the drinking water that is getting affected, and it is posing a long-lasting threat to the people of Japan who have not yet recovered from the disastrous tsunami and the earthquake that struck the country on 11th of March this year.
Moreover, the discovery of radiation-tainted vegetables and tap water added to public fears about the contaminated food and drinking water. Japan government also halted shipments of spinach and milk from areas near the nuclear power plant during the last week. A halt was imposed after tests found iodine exceeded safety limits in those products. Radiation from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant also seeped into raw milk, seawater and 11 kinds of vegetables including broccoli, cauliflower and turnips around the plant.
And even as the nation tries to cope up with the growing threats of radiation, the number of death toll rose to more than 10,000, and reports showed that more than 12,000 still remain missing. With the conditions going from bad to worse, the South Asian countries are giving all the support they can to the tsunami-ravaged nation.
India sent a 45-member search and rescue team on Friday to Japan. It was the first international assignment of the National Disaster Response Force, which was constituted in 2005 and is made up to 8 battalions of Central Parliamentary Forces. Sri Lanka also sent a medical team and donated $1 million for Japan's relief. On the other hand, Japan asked Nepal for food assistance, particularly biscuits and dry food items, to address the growing food crisis. Also, the Foreign Ministry of Pakistan said that the country will send a special flight carrying relief goods to Japan. The relief goods will include biscuits, milk, blankets and drinking water. A special flight C-130 will leave for Japan on Thursday.
On time to wrap up this edition of The Week Gone By. I'll be back again next week with more news and updates from across South Asia. Till then, goodbye and keep watching TV South Asia.